To advance Kavanaugh to the Senate floor, Murkowski is a no. But Joe Manchin is a yes. And Susan Collins has something to say at 3 o'clock. Let's get into it. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.
One goal for the next 2 months. One goal for 2018. And that's to take back the House. And we're only going to do that by going out and voting. I mean, I know the civil rights movement didn't exactly end racism, but I thought we were further along from this. It's a known fact that the reason I don't have any friends is solely because I'm a liberal who cares about other people and doesn't want to see brown people and women suffer at the hands of old, rich, white men who have been in power for way too long. Nazis? Bad. Free press? Good. The most dangerous thing you can do is sit back and think that America has no chance of ever turning into an autocracy or some sort of authoritarian regime when you have a fascist regime on the rise right now, unchecked by Congress, which makes November the most important election of our lives.
J-Porks, East Coast Radio, Dyze in your house, J-Porks podcast. We must resist or we won't exist. Taking it back in November. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is Friday, and that means we are back here on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. You know what this is by now. Fascism was rising so fast in America. Even 7th graders were getting haircuts called the Fash, based on Adolf Hitler. So what we had to do is we had to add a second podcast to our weekly podcast machine here. So as you know, every Monday, you get a brand new episode of the J Parks podcast that is usually 90 minutes long, around that. We take a look at all things Mueller, all things corruption in Washington, everything that's going on. But again, that was going too long. It was going longer than 90 minutes. And I couldn't do that. So I had to break it down for you and bring you a Friday Dyze in your house, a little 20-minute thing, like just to basically focus on one topic, 20 minutes, no cuts, give you a little background music. It's more easily digestible for you, and therefore gets people to listen. Again, if something's 20 minutes, it's gone like that. Trust me, I know, because I listen to my podcast 10 times a week. Okay. So, I'm not, as you know, I've had, listen, I'm not the most mentally healthy person. You know, I've got some mental health issues. I admit that. I fight with them every day. So, today's one of those days where I'm having a bad one. So, let's just plow through this, and I want to fake smile and plow through this one more time. Okay, so last week, and it's continuously Kavanaugh. I think I figured it out now. It took me a while. I heard a reporter on television talking about how bad Trump wants Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. I don't agree. I don't think he cares. Remember when the reports came out that Mitch McConnell said that Brett Kavanaugh was probably going to be the hardest nominee to get through because of all the documents and this and that? And there's just a lot of things that need, there's a lot of classified documents. There's a lot of things, because he worked in the White House, there's a lot of documents to review. He has more documents to review than any other SCOTUS nominee. So, McConnell and everybody, they said that he was going to be the hardest one to get through. And it was a list. And the Federalist Society didn't push for any of them. The Federalist Society said, listen, you can throw a dart at this list, and we're going to like anybody you pick off this list. So Brett Kavanaugh was chosen. Now, a lot of people think that Brett Kavanaugh was chosen because of his views about presidential powers and pardons, and how even though he even though he was on the Ken Starr investigation as one of the lawyers working on that, helping formulate graphic questions of a graphic nature to ask President Bill Clinton on a deposition. He believes that a president can't be indicted, can't be subpoenaed, basically can't be bothered with obeying the law. That's Brett Kavanaugh's point of view. So, that's a reason why Trump would pick him. That's a great reason why Trump would pick him. But there's another reason why Trump picked him. It's because of this circus right now. Right now, this circus that's going on. The circus that is surrounding Kavanaugh quiets down the 7 Russians that were indicted yesterday by the Justice Department, that we'll talk about on the Jay Parks podcast. Quiets down the Willie or won't he with Rod Rosenstein. Haven't heard who Mueller's interviewing this week. We haven't spoken about Michael Cohen or Paul Manafort this week. And that might be because they haven't done anything to make news. Or that might be because we're so focused on Brett Kavanaugh. Now, why are we this focused on Brett Kavanaugh? Because he, is going to be the 5th deciding vote for Roe v. Wade. Now, as of press time, it is Friday. It's 11 o'clock. I took a walk to the store. I came back, and I noticed breaking news, and I saw that the Senate voted, of course, 51-49 on Cloture. That's to end the debate on Kavanaugh, which means now they have, I think, 30 hours until they have to cast the vote. So which means this vote's going to go down over the weekend, when everybody's paying attention. So we've got that going on. And 51-49, as you would expect, but was not party lines. On the nose for the Republicans, we got Lisa Murkowski, who, she didn't vote no because of her moral standards. She voted no because she's the senator from Alaska, and they have a lot of not Native American population, I want to say, Native Alaskans. Plus she won as a write-in, which is crazy hard to do, so you definitely need to stay with what your constituents want. Like, the rest of these politicians are just, they're walking out of the house and they're lighting a match and they're tossing it behind them. They don't care. And that's what Joe Manchin did. Joe Manchin voted yes to end the debate. Now, does that mean both of these people are going to vote the same for the final vote? No, probably not. We don't know. Here's what we do know. We do know that on Saturday, the Senate is going to take a full vote to decide the future of Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. It's a lifetime appointment. Ask me the last time you performed that way in a job interview. But you know what? Let's just look at if he gets voted onto the Supreme Court. That shows you how much the old white men in this country care about the Me Too movement. Because if you saw somebody accosting Orrin Hatch, like when a survivor went up to Jeff Flake Jeff Flake sat there and listened to his story. When a survivor went up to Orrin Hatch was like waving goodbye. Why don't you? And he was quoted, not quoted, but like you heard him say, "Why don't you? When you grow up, I'll listen to you." Like, Orrin Hatch, do you know that you're not wearing glasses right now? I'm still wondering that. Term limits. Term limits need to be a thing. But anyhow, so we got 100 senators, 2 for each state, and they're gonna cast a vote. That shows you that that women and them coming forward, that as much as they say, oh, we're gonna hear the women, oh, we're gonna let them speak, oh, we're gonna respect them, they actually really don't. And as long as this doesn't get in, like, it's cool if you're taking down Hollywood producers that may have voted Democratic one time, but anybody on the Republican side, oh, this is 30 years ago, you can't. Now listen, it's disqualifying. The Revenge of the Clintons line is disqualifying. How can somebody who's supposed to serve on a nonpartisan court be that partisan? Because he's Trump's guy. Because Trump picked him for that reason. He's a distraction. This is what makes November oh so important. And we're about 31 days out? Some 32? 11/6, we fix this. I like that hashtag, by the way. So this is why taking back the House of Representatives for Democrats would be an important thing. Because then we could just hand out subpoenas and we could question all the people. We can question all those people that the FBI didn't follow up on. We can do that. Subpoena power to follow up on all of the leads that the FBI wasn't allowed to follow up on. And the House of Representatives also has the ability to bring articles of impeachment. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jay, it's a losing message if the Democrats only run on impeaching Trump. That can't be their only message. They need to have a message. I find that to be incorrect. I think Trump is so bad that if you just get all the people that don't like him together, I think we're good. B, I'm not actually talking about impeaching Trump. I'm talking about impeaching a Supreme Court justice. That's right. Democratic strategist, I mentioned it last week, was saying that that's going to be on the top of the list of things that they're going to be doing if they gain control of either of the houses. Especially the House of Representatives, where they have a 4 out of 5 chance of gaining it. Or I want to say 5 out of 7 chance, according to 5. Depends on if you're looking at 538, or if you're looking at Cook Political Report. Either way, polling is, But there are actual, so let's just say, and listen, I don't believe Brett Kavanaugh. I believe Christine Blasey Ford. That being said, and there is no excuse. That being said, if Kavanaugh wanted to snake his way out of this, could have just been like, if I did that, my bad, but I don't remember doing it. Boom. End of story. Then you can go to the kids will be kids, boys will be boys, prep school. You can go to that whole argument there. But now, listen, there's nothing the Democrats can do now. We don't have power. And we don't have power because in the 90s, political tribalism began to really make its way through America here. When it was Bill Clinton, and it was the Republicans doing everything they could to stop Bill Clinton. You fast forward to Obama's presidency, once the Republicans took back control, same deal. Same deal. So you know what? We're done with this nice guy stuff. It's not that, oh, okay, we lost the election, so we're going to let it go. No, let him get named to the Supreme Court. Let him go. Because you know what? We will impeach him. And no, we will not have to go back 35 years to check out, videotape footage that doesn't exist from the party with Blasey Ford and Mark Judge. Mike Judge is the Beavis and Butthead guy. And Mark Judge. We don't have to go back to that. All we need to do is look at his testimony. He lied under oath. And I will point you to a thread by Senator Patrick Leahy. Now, I know that I made fun of Patrick Leahy a couple of weeks ago for having the Alzheimer's shakes and how there should be term limits and age limits on elected officials. That being said, he's got a thread on Twitter. Well, he doesn't have a thread. Somebody's got a thread on Twitter who works in his office, and they're going to fill us in. This is a point-by-point breakdown of Judge Kavanaugh's claims about the Manny Miranda email theft scandal. For those of you who don't know, there was a Manny Miranda email theft scandal. Documents were stolen from Democrats. Brett Kavanaugh claims to not know anything about that. We don't believe him. So again, and this is something we do often on the J Porks podcast. On the J Porks podcast, we have a segment called the Thread Count, where we read threads from our political experts on Twitter, people that know more about it than I do. So this here is Senator Patrick Leahy, a point-by-point breakdown of Judge Kavanaugh's claims about the Manny Miranda email theft scandal. And let's go. Exhibit 1. This is all Patrick Leahy's tweets. So, after Kavanaugh ally Manny Miranda stole 4,600 Democratic files on controversial George Bush nominees, Judge Kavanaugh testified over and over that he never received stolen materials or anything to be prepared by Dems, or even anything untoward. That's just false. Example 1A. Here's Brett Kavanaugh receiving a highly confidential letter written to me about a nominee's position on abortion. It was so secret that the sender believed she'd be fired if it got out. Miranda even said, quote, "No action, except as I requested." Kavanaugh responded minutes later, and there's a copy of the letter there. Exhibit 1B. Here's a memo Kavanaugh received in his inbox the day after my staff sent it to me. It represents extensive research on a critical argument that Democrats intended to make. If it were legitimately obtained, why would Miranda tell Kavanaugh it's not for distribution? So let's go to Exhibit 1C. And, of course, all of these tweets have the documents that Senator Patrick Leahy is referencing on them, included in them. So I would just go to Patrick Leahy's Twitter and check it out. Exhibit 1C. Here's Miranda sharing, quote, highly confidential, and they spelled confidential wrong on the memo, highly confidential info about what Senator Biden's staff was advising him on a controversial hearing. It also says what my staff was sharing with other Democrats. If this is normal info to receive, why label it highly confidential? Again, attachment is attached. Example 1D. Here's Miranda sharing he had it on 100% info that Leahy is trying to convene the Dems this afternoon, end quote. Clearly, Miranda trusted Kavanaugh. He asked Kavanaugh to, quote, refer to rumor, not to me, even when sharing the info with other Bush administration officials. Again, the receipts, the documents are here. Let's just continue on to example 1E. Kavanaugh forwards an interesting email from another Republican staffer who appears in thousands of emails with Miranda. It contains intel allegedly from a, quote, mole with the subject, quote, spying. I asked Kavanaugh in 2004 if he had heard of a Democratic, quote, mole. He did not answer. And again, the interesting email is right here. Example 1F. Miranda requested an off-site meeting with Kavanaugh and another Trump-appointed judge, Don Willett, wanting to hand them paper on Democratic senators' thinking. If it's legitimate, why If legitimate, why not email or fax it? I just asked Kavanaugh about off-site meetings. He refused to answer. And again, off-site meetings, committee confidential documents are right here. 1G. Here's Miranda sharing what I was looking into regarding a controversial nominee days before her hearing. Miranda even asked for help explaining why it was relevant. He didn't learn about it from good faith conversations with, quote, friends across the aisle, as he testified. Document right here. Example 1H. Kavanaugh received a private letter from me and other Dems to Senator Daschle. It was never made public, and Kavanaugh had it before there was any mention of it to the press. Hard to imagine a savvy political operative didn't know exactly what he had. A stolen, non-public letter. Example 1, I, J, K, and L. More inside, real-time info about what Democratic staff were researching, sharing, and tracking down. On controversial matters, the notion that such things would be shared by, quote, friends across the aisle is just not credible. It's laughable. Then there's this. I've seen nominees try to dodge questions before. I've never seen a nominee flat out refuse to answer any new questions, especially when it concerns their knowledge of a massive, multi-year theft. So, and there is the Leahy questions and answers there. And that concludes this week's special Dyze in Your House edition of the thread count. As we switch back to the regular music here. The guy lied under oath. Game over. And these are not normal times, and I understand that a Supreme Court justice has not been attempted to be impeached since the 1800s, and it was a failed impeachment. But you know what? We've never had Russia elect a president before. We've never had a whole party complicit in treason before. We've never had that. So, if the Republicans are going to introduce us to new wild and crazy things like nuclear options and stuff like that, and judges being political operatives, then maybe we should, start introducing our own little signature moves, our own little version of the sweet chin music, by impeaching Brett Kavanaugh. And you know what? I've come to religion on this too. If he doesn't make it through, and again, it is like noon, this podcast will probably be out about 1-2. Susan Collins is hitting the Senate floor at 3 o'clock. I don't care what she's going to say. She's either going to explain why she's voting yes, which she already voted yes on Cloture, yeah. I just don't like to mispronounce words, and I try to have fun. She's already voted yes on Cloture, on ending the debate. So she's either going to get up there and say, listen, the FBI investigation, if I'll support impeachment if anything happens from now until then. Flake, he's yes on Cloture. He says unless something big happens. But I'm not going to pay attention to Susan. I'm not going to. It's 51-49 right now. Manchin voted yes. Murkowski voted no. If Collins votes no on the Senate floor, that's still 51-50. Or I guess that would make it 50. All right, that makes it 50-50, and Mike Pence comes in and signs with his conversion therapy pen. And that'll be it. But if Kavanaugh does not get confirmed, it will rile up Republican voters. And it will give them a reason to go out to the polls. There's a reason why only twice since World War II, the president's party has not picked up seats in the midterms. And the reason is because Trevor Noah was saying it the other day, when your guy is in office, you're not worried about anything else. My guy's in office, I'm good. But it's an off-year election. And right now, Republicans really don't have any reason to go out there and vote. Because the people that voted for Trump aren't smart enough to know what a senator does and how cloture works and rules and stuff like that. They don't know government. They don't know how any of this works. So I can't expect to have a conversation with somebody who is diehard Trump and expect to go anywhere with that conversation. So what we need to do is just, if he gets through, that gives Democrats more reason to get out to the polls in November. 11-6, we fix this. So it's dangerous. It's a dangerous, like me. If I'm like a political operative, if I'm a strategic political op, and I'm telling you, listen, let him get on the court and we'll impeach him. There's no chance. There's not like 100% chance that would, not even a 50% chance that would actually go through. That we'd be able to do that. It's a very dangerous move. But if Kavanaugh does not get confirmed, that might be the fuel that Republicans need to turn out and vote. And that's the worst thing that could happen. So remember, if any of your conservative friends ask you when election day is, make sure they know that it's November 10th. Tell them the wrong day. Tell them they're automatically not registered to vote. Suppress their vote. Because we can't have this anymore. We have to take back democracy November 6th. At least take back one chamber. I'm Jay Porks. Dyze in your house.
Representing Staten Island.